Well, hello, fellow travelers. Today we are in Charleston, South Carolina, and we are at the museum for the H.L. Hunley. Now, for those of you who may not know, the H.L. Hunley is the first submarine to ever sink another ship, a warship, in battle. And behind me, this is actually a replica of the Hunley. And you can see how big it's not. It's only 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall at its widest. It has 2 conning towers. And so the story of the Hunley is they wanted to come up with a new way to battle the Union blockade that General Winfield Scott had put into place with his Anaconda plan. And so in New Orleans, a group of people got together and were trying to devise new ways of doing this. And one of them, a group of investors came up with this plan of creating a submarine that would tow an explosive charge behind it and would go under the ship and drag the charge into it. However, in testing, that did not work very well. And I should say that there were actually 3 iterations of the Hunley before the Hunley actually was successful. 13 men died during test runs of the first 3 iterations. And the Hunley actually gets its name from one of the people who was not only the benefactor, one of the investors, but also died on the third attempt. The Hunley originally had another name, and I'm completely blanking on it right now. But it had another name, and they took it out for a trial, and it sank. And Mr. H.L. Hunley was on it, and when they recovered it and figured out what went wrong, they corrected it and they renamed it the H.L. Hunley. And on February 17th of 1864, the Hunley left Charleston Harbor. And the reason it was in Charleston was because it had originally been taken to Mobile, but Mobile wasn't really getting a lot of action. But Charleston was being basically bombarded every day. So they took it to Charleston Harbor and went out there. And on February 17th, 1864, they left port to go out against the Union warship Lusitania. And now in the interim, they had changed their plan. They had done tests where they did a test run where they towed an explosive charge behind them, but it proved to be very difficult to control. So what they did was they put a spar, a long beam, I think they said it was about 24 feet long, off the nose of the submarine, and attached an explosive charge to that. But the explosive charge would only go off when the detonator was pulled. And so what they did was, what the idea was they would ram the ship, put a hole in the ship, deposit the charge in the ship that they were attacking, back away to a safe distance, pulling on this rope. And when they got 150 feet away, the rope was about 150 feet long. When they got 150 feet away, they would pull the detonator, and the ship would explode. And that is exactly what happened to the Lusitania. The submarine rammed it below the waterline, deposited the charge, and then backed away, pulled the detonator, boom. And it took the Lusitania only 3 minutes to sink, and that is incredible. However, there are conflicting reports about what happened to the Hunley. One version says that the Hunley surfaced and waved basically mission complete, and the other is that the Hunley was never seen again. Whatever happened, the Hunley never made it back to port. The Hunley sank. Now, there are theories about what happened, whether it was the concussion from the blast that damaged the sub to sink it, or whether they just whether they voluntarily dove to the bottom to kind of wait and just ran out of air or got stuck. Whatever it was, they were never heard from again. And it wasn't until the American author Clive Cussler actually in 1995 began looking for the Hunley. And it wasn't until I think it was 15 years later that he wound up actually one of the divers that he had commissioned called him and said, basically when the diver called him, Cussler basically said, "So are you guys giving up or whatever?" And the guy replied, "We found it." And so then they went into a salvage mode, and it took several years to come up with a plan, but they were able to raise it, and it is completely intact, obviously except for like some missing rivets that have corroded away. There's a window in one of the conning towers that's missing. Okay. But just amazing to be here and look at it. And later on, I'll be posting another video that'll have a video of the actual Hunley. It is actually submerged in a tank of chemicals that's helping to eat away the salt, because the salt is corroding it, and so it's helping to dissolve the salt so that they can put it on permanent display. But right now, it's in a tank. But just an amazing piece of history, and one I never thought I would actually get to see in person. I hope this was at least a little interesting to you. Look for a longer video later on once I get home and am able to start cutting things together to give you guys a better trip. Until then, we'll see you down the road. Bye-bye.